can't stand flowers. Well, the smell at least. When I was a kid, a lot of people I knew died. And I'd walk downstairs from my room, be hit by that overwhelming smell of a dozen bouquets of condolences that my mother or father would stare at with identical looks of just this dull confusion. Why did this happen? Why did anyone think flowers would be appropriate? And why did life decide that there are people we'd have no choice about loving? I was 12 years old when my mother was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was giving her seizures, and something called a gamma knife was inflicted on her. The seizures lessened, but it left her weaker than we expected, and the tumor was still there. It was one of those moments where everyone you know takes a deep breath, steps back, and watches everything change. For the next decade, I had this unique thrill of getting to watch my mother experience a slow decline. I felt a strange distaste for it all, the length of time making it seem a far worse thing than a sudden tragic event. Just watching it all happen, trapped by those constraints of Ken. Blowing off friends, girlfriends, employers with the recurring line of, "Not today, I'm with my mom." Killing time in a hospital waiting room while she's getting MRIs, and I'm contemplating which of the nurses I'd go for. Sitting in a house that stinks like the shitty weed she just smokes so she can eat. Then sitting in the room next to hers while she naps, while I sit there quietly listening just in case. Or simply driving in circles and chain smoking, muttering to myself again and again, just 5 more minutes and then I'll go home. In time, this distaste, this endless repetition of futile exercise, it descended into an acute discomfort. I didn't want to be there. My love meant every moment with my mother was coupled with this overwhelming desire to flee, to bow out of participating in whatever came next. However, the way I'd been raised taught me to be ashamed of this impulse. You don't fear love. You don't resent the people who say they love you. You don't purge all the things that people tell you is what's good about you in fear of loving someone. And most of all, you don't ditch the people you love. Right? The guilt manifested itself in a long chain of stupid decisions. Like going to SCSU instead of the University of Oregon so I could be close, just in case. Go Aztecs. Finally, however, at 23, I was able to convince myself I'd done my time. So I left my mother and I left the country. I girded myself expecting to feel a massive mix of guilt and anxiety over her, like a perfect storm of Jewiness. So I left the country and I waited. And you know what I felt? Fucking relief. The very real, constant process of watching this person I love, who without complaint cared for the sniveling, puking baby that became me, wither like those awful fucking flowers she had to watch, was now nothing but noises in another room. Daily setbacks and weekly disasters were now just the occasional ignorable email from my father or my mother. And much to the chagrin of those vestigial morals I still clung to, I just kept feeling better and better about it. On good days, I could even forget I had a family. But love is one of those things you can't escape, no matter how much you try, and will punish you for even trying. So naturally, when I returned to America, my mother was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Ha ha! Fuck you, Sam. The strongest memory of this moment actually has nothing to do with her. I called up a friend to tell her the news. Maybe, get some sympathetic coddling out of it. Instead, all she told me was, maybe you should get checked for Parkinson's too. You know when you shake in your sleep, right? Thanks. I don't know why, but that felt better than sympathy. This ordeal has taught me a lot of things I don't want to know from love. Leave me like that confused little kid screeching in the room. The people you love aren't supposed to rot. While everyone else just kind of looks around uncomfortably. The day's gonna come, sooner than I'd like, when all this awful waiting is finally gonna come to an end. And I'm gonna have to smell those awful fucking flowers for her. And I'll be reminded of the final thing she taught me. That when this woman who raised me said, "I love you," she never promised anything, especially that she'd be there when I needed her. And that when I tell anyone else the same thing, neither do I.